Right now, money is silently draining from your bank account. Not from a hacker, not from fraud, but from something you voluntarily signed up for, probably a dozen times over. The average American now pays $273 every single month for subscriptions. That's $3,276 a year. Over a decade, nearly $33,000 gone. But here's what should terrify you. If you'd invested that money instead at just 8% returns, you'd have $50,000. So the question isn't just where your money's going, it's this. When did we stop owning things and start renting our entire lives? And why did every company suddenly decide that selling you something once wasn't good enough anymore? This shift wasn't accidental. It was engineered, and the consequences are reshaping your financial future in ways most people don't even realize.
Let's do something uncomfortable. Count your subscriptions right now. Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, Max, Apple TV+, Spotify. That's already 6 streaming services at roughly $100 a month. Then there's your iPhone cloud storage because 5G ran out years ago. Microsoft 365 because they stopped letting you buy Office. Adobe Creative Cloud. Your gym membership you forgot about. That meditation app you used twice. Amazon Prime. Your car's connected features. Yes, automakers now charge monthly fees for remote start. That meal kit service. Those Patreon creators you support. In 2026, the average household has 12 to 17 active subscriptions. In 2010, most people had 2, cable TV and a gym. That was it. Everything else you bought once and owned forever. Software came in a box. Music was on your phone. Movies were DVDs on a shelf. So what changed? What convinced us to hand over thousands of dollars every year just to access things we used to own?
The turning point wasn't a crash or new technology. It was a business model that spread like a virus. In 2011, Netflix shifted from DVDs to streaming at $7.99 a month. Spotify followed with music. These felt like incredible deals, and they were at first. But the real earthquake came in 2013. Adobe, after selling boxed software for decades, made a shocking announcement. No more buying Photoshop for $699. From now on, you'd pay $9.99 every month forever, or you couldn't use it. Designers revolted. They protested online. They swore they'd never pay. And then they paid, because Adobe had a monopoly on professional creative tools. Once Adobe proved it could work, the floodgates opened. Microsoft moved Office to Office 365. Autodesk subscribed AutoCAD. Even antivirus software went subscription. Then came 2020, the pandemic, and the final acceleration. Stuck at home, people signed up for everything. Home workout apps, cooking classes, virtual therapy. Companies that had resisted saw their competitors' stock prices soaring and finally paved. By 2021, you could barely find software to buy outright. But here's what nobody was asking. Why? Why would these companies abandon a model that made them billions? Follow the money. On Wall Street, subscription businesses are valued completely differently. A company that sells products might be valued at 2 to 3 times its annual revenue. A subscription company? 5 to 10 times revenue, sometimes more. Why? Predictable, recurring revenue. When Microsoft sold Office 2010 for $149, they got $149 once. Maybe you'd upgrade in 3 years, maybe not. But Office 365 at $9.99 a month, that's $120 the first year, another $120 the second year, and it keeps going until you actively cancel, which most don't. Over 5 years, that's $600 from a customer who would have paid $149 once. Look at the results. Microsoft stock went from $40 in 2014 to over $400 by 2026, a 10x increase. Adobe went from $60 in 2013 to over $550 by 2024. Wall Street rewarded them specifically for recurring revenue. When you ask why everything became a subscription, the answer is simple. It makes companies worth billions more on paper. But that's not the full story. There's something darker, something that exploits how your brain works. There's a reason companies charge $9.99 instead of $10. It's psychological invisibility. Researchers discovered something called the pain of paying, the actual discomfort your brain feels when spending money. Small recurring charges hurt way less than big one-time purchases, even when they cost more over time. Your brain treats a $600 one-time payment as a significant decision. You deliberate, you compare. You might say no, but $9.99 a month? That barely registers. It's less than lunch. And when it auto-renews, you don't experience the pain of paying again because you're not actively deciding. The charge just happens. Companies know this. That's why cancellation is deliberately difficult. Sign up in 2 clicks. Cancel, log into a website, navigate multiple pages, sometimes call a phone number and talk to a retention specialist trained to keep you subscribed. These are called dark patterns, and they're engineered to increase subscription drag, the time between when you stop using a service and when you actually cancel. One 2024 study found Americans pay for an average of 2.6 subscriptions they no longer use or forgot about. That's $30 to $50 monthly for literally nothing. Billions in pure profit from forgetfulness and friction. But here's the question that should haunt you. What is this actually costing you? Let's do the math. $273 monthly in subscriptions equals $3,276 yearly. What if you cut subscriptions in half, down to $136.50 monthly, and invested the difference? At 8% annual returns, after 10 years, you'd have over $25,000. After 20 years, nearly $80,000. After 30 years, a normal career, you'd have over $200,000, $250,000 just from cutting subscriptions in half. Here's the darker comparison. Your parents' generation bought things. They owned their software, music, DVDs, tools. Yes, upfront costs existed, but then those things were theirs, no monthly fees. When they were done, they could sell it, pass it down, or just keep it. You're paying monthly for access that disappears the moment you stop paying or the company shuts down. Think about it. If you own assets, they contribute to wealth. If you rent access to everything, you're in perpetual financial dependency. Every month, you need income just to maintain access to things you already paid for last month. Are we becoming the first generation engineered to own nothing? Companies aren't done yet. The subscription model is entering a more aggressive phase. It started with underpricing. Netflix at $7.99, Spotify at $9.99. Those prices weren't meant to last. They were the land grab. Get everyone hooked, kill competition, become the default. Once competition dies and you're locked in, phase 2 begins. Raise prices. Netflix went from $7.99 in 2010 to $22.99 premium by 2026, a 200% increase. Disney Plus launched at $6.99 in 2019. By 2026, $13.99 for ad-free. Then there's fragmentation. Remember when Netflix had everything? Now you need Netflix, Disney Plus, Max, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Peacock to watch what you want. What was one $7.99 subscription fractured into 7, totaling over $100 monthly. The content didn't multiply. It just got divided, so you'd pay more. But there's another layer. Data mining. When you subscribe, you're not just paying with money. Every show you watch, song you play, document you create, it's tracked, analyzed, and monetized. Netflix knows when you pause. Spotify knows your moods. Microsoft knows what you're working on. This data is worth billions. You're paying them and giving them valuable data they sell. You're paying twice. And now the most dystopian evolution, physical products with subscription features. BMW tried charging $18 monthly for heated seats, hardware already in your car, remotely enabled only if you paid. The backlash was fierce, but the precedent is set. Tesla charges for premium connectivity. Some appliance makers are experimenting with subscription features. Think about where this leads. John Deere tractors cost $500,000, but farmers can't repair them without paying John Deere technicians because the software is locked. They don't truly own their tractors. This is the everything as a service future Silicon Valley wants. You don't buy a car, you subscribe to transportation. You don't own appliances, you license their features. Your Nest thermostat requires a subscription for features. Your Ring doorbell charges monthly for video storage. Now imagine being 70 years old on fixed retirement income, maintaining 30 subscriptions just to access your thermostat history, doorbell footage, car navigation, health monitoring, hearing aid features. Does that sound like financial independence or a system designed to extract maximum wealth until you die? This is exactly what happened to housing. 50 years ago, housing was something you bought. Now, entire generations are locked into permanent renting, building zero equity, while investment firms buy properties and convert them to rentals. The subscription economy is doing to products what private equity did to housing. If you don't own anything, can you ever really be financially free?
But there's resistance building. The right to repair movement has gained serious momentum. Farmers pushed state legislatures to pass right to repair laws. Massachusetts voters passed a law in 2020 forcing car manufacturers to allow independent repair. By 2025, several states followed. In Europe, the EU has been more aggressive. In 2024, they passed regulations requiring tech companies to allow device repairs and mandating reasonable alternatives to subscription models. Apple was forced to allow third-party app stores. Adobe had to offer perpetual licenses again in EU countries. Consumers are getting smarter. The subscription audit is becoming regular financial practice. People use apps that track recurring charges and prompt cancellations. Some are going back to ownership, buying music on Bandcamp instead of streaming, purchasing software outright, choosing products without subscriptions. A counterculture is growing of people who refuse to rent their lives. Some companies are noticing. A few software makers offer lifetime licenses again because there's real demand. Here's what you can actually do. First, audit every subscription right now. Cancel anything you don't actively use weekly. Second, question whether you need the subscription or if there's an ownership alternative. Can you buy music instead of streaming? Buy software instead of subscribing? Use free open-source alternatives? Third, take the money you save and invest it. Even $50 monthly compounds into life-changing wealth over decades. Fourth, vote with your wallet. Support companies offering ownership options. Fifth, recognize this for what it is, a systematic transfer of wealth from the middle class to corporations, enabled by psychological manipulation and financial engineering. The biggest question isn't whether subscriptions are convenient, they are. It's whether that convenience is worth the long-term cost to your financial independence. If you don't own anything, not your software, not your media, not your car's features, not even your own device data, are you really building wealth? Or are you just renting your life month by month until there's nothing left?